Welcome back from an ad break. So now let's just do a quick recap and wrap up our lesson. So throughout this lesson, we looked at our main idea being pressure, and within that, we looked at what pressure is. We also looked at how we can measure pressure and also the relationship between pressure and the particle model of matter. And then furthermore, in this lesson, we used words such as pressure, density, and collision to better explain what we mean by pressure and how does it relate to the particle model of matter, and even also how to even measure the pressure. We use such words. And then, what we need to take away from the lesson is that the following things. That's number one. The relationship between volume and pressure is as follows: that when volume is increased, pressure is also going to decrease. So when we increase the volume, pressure is going to decrease. When one goes up, the other one must come down. And then gases have much lower densities compared to solids and liquid. So the densities of gases are much lower as compared to the solids and the liquids. Furthermore, what we need to take away from this lesson is if the motion of the particles change, the temperature will change. Remember, when we increase the temperature, the motion of the particles will also increase because they will have more energy. But if we decrease the temperature, the motion of the particles will also decrease because we are moving or removing their energy. So if the motion of the particles changes, the temperature will also change. And the converse is true. Changing the temperature changes the motion. Changing the motion also changes the temperature as well. Now, when a substance is warmed, its particles will move quicker than normal. So if we are warming up a substance, the particles that are making up that particular substance will move more quicker than normal. We can take, for an example, ice. The ice particles are vibrating, but if we now warm up the ice, the particles that are making up that ice will start to move around even more quicker than normal and now go into a phase change, that being now a liquid. So because the particles in a liquid, they move more quicker than the particles in a solid. Why? Because the particles have been warmed up, or the substance has been warmed up. So the last thing that I want you to take away from this lesson is when something is cooled, its particles will move slower than normal. So that means when we are removing energy from the substance, then the particles making up that substance are going to be moving slower than normal. We can take the very same example of a liquid. If we put our liquid into a deep freezer, we are decreasing the temperature, or in other words, we are trying to make those particles that are making up that liquid to move slower than normal. And once they move slower, they're going to come closer together and contract and be one solid shape. So now, I have answered a lot of questions for you, and I have a question for you. And the question is, how do we know that a chemical reaction has taken place? So how do we know that a chemical reaction has taken place? You're going to answer this question for me, and I will see you next time. Bye.